My beloved, you think this year is ending quietly. You think the days ahead are only about wrapping things up, finishing routines, closing calendars, lowering expectations. But listen to me carefully now. The closing days are never empty. They are where I hide my surprises. What you call the end, I call the moment everything finishes aligning. My beloved, you have been watching this year fade, thinking, so this is how it ends. You expected something louder, something clearer, something that explains all the waiting. Instead, you were given silence. And silence made you assume that nothing more was coming. But silence does not mean absence. Silence means preparation is complete. There's a reason your soul has felt restless lately. A reason your thoughts return to unfinished feelings. A reason old hopes feel close again. A reason you sense something hovering just beyond reach. That feeling is not imagination. It is anticipation. My beloved, let me tell you something that will calm your heart and awaken your awareness at the same time. I never place surprises at the beginning. I place them at the end because only at the end do you finally stop controlling the outcome. Only at the end do you surrender expectations. Only at the end do you let go of how you think things should happen, and surrender is where miracles are allowed to enter. You spent most of this year asking, when will it happen? How long do I have to wait? Why does it feel delayed? But now as the year closes, those questions have softened. You are tired of asking. You are tired of chasing clarity. You are tired of forcing meaning. And that tiredness is not defeat. It is readiness. My beloved, I want you to understand what kind of surprise I am speaking about. Not the kind that shocks the eyes. The kind that settles the soul. The kind that makes you exhale and whisper quietly, so that's why. The kind that does not need explanation because it feels right immediately. You have been conditioned to believe that big things announce themselves. But the most important shifts arrive gently, quietly, often when you are no longer watching the door. This year trained you for that moment. It trained you through loss, through confusion, through waiting, through letting go of timelines. You thought those lessons were punishment. They were preparation, my beloved. Think back to the beginning of this year. You entered it with expectations, plans, hope, assumptions about how things would unfold. Life quickly challenged those assumptions. Things didn't move the way you expected. People changed. Circumstances shifted. Paths closed unexpectedly. At first you resisted. You tried to hold on to what felt familiar. But slowly your grip loosened. Not because you gave up, but because you learned. You learned that control exhausts you. You learned that certainty is temporary. You learned that timing has a wisdom the mind cannot calculate. And most importantly, you learned how to keep your heart open even when outcomes disappointed you. That lesson alone makes you ready for what comes next. My beloved, the closing days of this year are not here to test you again. They are here to reward your endurance. Not with fireworks, with alignment. You may not yet see the shape of the surprise. It may not look like what you imagined months ago, but that is intentional. If it came in the form you expected, it would not change you. It would only confirm what you already knew. This surprise is meant to expand you. You have reached a point where you are no longer begging life to make sense. You are no longer demanding proof. You are no longer chasing. You are simply moving forward one day at a time, doing the best you can. That quiet perseverance is what unlocks the unexpected. My beloved, I want you to stop thinking of this surprise as something external only. It may come through an event, a conversation, an opportunity, a realization, a sudden shift in direction. But its true power will be how it changes how you see your life, how you understand the delays, how you reinterpret the losses, how you forgive the waiting. You may think the year is taking its final breath, but endings are not about breath leaving. They are about truth entering. There were moments this year when you felt invisible, when effort went unnoticed, when patience felt unrewarded, when faith felt one-sided. You questioned whether anything was being recorded at all. Let me tell you now, nothing was missed. Not the nights you held yourself together. Not the times you chose integrity over convenience. Not the moments you stayed kind when bitterness would have been easier. Those moments are the currency of this surprise. My beloved, the closing days of this year will reveal something subtle but powerful. You were not delayed. You were being timed. Time to receive something without fear. Time to accept something without self-sabotage. Time to step into something without clinging. Earlier in the year, if this surprise had arrived, you would have doubted it. You would have questioned it. You would have worried about losing it. But now, you are calmer, wiser, more grounded. You can receive without panic. That matters. You may feel a strange mix of emotions now. Hope quiet, curiosity without urgency, expectation without attachment. That emotional balance is rare and it is the final condition. Before a shift occurs, my beloved, I want you to release the idea that surprises are always dramatic. Some surprises are gentle confirmations. They arrive and simply say, "You were right to wait. You were right to let go. You were right to trust." The closing days of this year will not rewrite your past. They will redeem it. You will not forget what hurt, but you will finally understand why it had to happen. That understanding will bring peace you did not expect. You are standing at a threshold now. Behind you, a year that stripped you down to your essentials. Ahead of you, a doorway you cannot yet fully see. Between the two is this moment. This moment is pregnant with meaning. My beloved, do not rush these days. Do not numb them. Do not dismiss what you feel. Pay attention because the surprise does not always arrive with an announcement. Sometimes it arrives as a sudden clarity, a feeling of rightness, a door that opens effortlessly, a resistance that dissolves, a peace that settles unexpectedly. You will recognize it, not by excitement, but by relief. My beloved, now that you have allowed the truth of the approaching surprise to enter your awareness, I want to take you deeper to show you why it waited, why it could not come sooner, and why these closing days were chosen so precisely. Because nothing about this timing is accidental. You see, my beloved, surprises are not delayed because I forget. They are delayed because you are still becoming. Earlier in the year, you wanted answers. You wanted certainty. You wanted assurance before surrender. But certainty closes the heart. Surrender opens it. And this year was teaching you how to surrender without feeling powerless. Think about how you responded to life at the beginning of this year. You tried to plan everything. You tried to predict outcomes. You tried to protect yourself from disappointment. You were careful. But careful is not the same as open. And openness is required for what is coming. My beloved, this year slowly loosened your grip. Not by force, but by showing you that control was costing you peace. Each delay taught you patience. Each disappointment taught you discernment. Each unanswered question taught you trust. You did not learn these lessons through comfort. You learned them through experience. That is why they will stay with you. There were times this year when you felt like nothing was moving, days that felt repetitive, efforts that felt invisible, waiting that felt endless. You wondered if you were being ignored. But what you could not see was how much was happening beneath the surface. Roots grow in darkness, and your roots were growing strong enough to hold what is coming. My beloved, let me speak clearly now. If this surprise had arrived earlier, it would have shaken you. You would have questioned its stability. You would have worried about losing it. You would have clung to it out of fear. But now you are calmer. You no longer need guarantees. You are grounded. That difference changes everything. This year also taught you how to recognize truth without needing constant reassurance. You stopped asking others to validate your feelings. You started listening inward. You stopped explaining yourself endlessly. You allowed silence to speak. That inner authority is essential for what is coming. My beloved, there is a reason the surprise arrives when you are tired of waiting, when desire softens, when expectations loosen, when you are no longer watching the clock. That is when the ego steps aside. And when ego steps aside, grace steps forward. I want you to remember how many times this year you said inside, "I don't know what else to do." That sentence was not helplessness. It was surrender. And surrender is a powerful signal. You may not realize it yet, but the closing days of this year are already different. You feel less frantic, less desperate, less pressured. You are not chasing closure. You are allowing completion. That shift alone invites something new. My beloved, this surprise is not something you have to chase. It is something that meets you because you finally stopped running. You have also learned something vital this year. Not everything that excites you is meant to stay. And not everything that feels quiet is insignificant. The surprise coming now will feel quiet at first, but it will rearrange your life gently. You may notice subtle signs appearing. A conversation that feels different, a thought that keeps returning calmly, a sense of peace about something that once caused anxiety. Do not dismiss these. They are signals, my beloved. I know part of you still fears disappointment. That fear is understandable. You have waited a long time. But listen to me carefully. This surprise does not come to test you again. It comes to reward your endurance. It may not look like what you expected months ago, but when it arrives, you will recognize it immediately. Not by excitement, but by relief, by a feeling that says, "I don't need to fight this." The closing days of this year are also teaching you how to receive without suspicion. Earlier, you questioned blessings. Now you accept them with humility. That maturity is what allows the surprise to settle instead of passing through. My beloved, you are not being given something to prove your worth. You are being given something because your worth was never in question. The surprise is not compensation. It is alignment. I want you to release the fear that if you hope again, you will be hurt. Hope does not hurt. Attachment does. And you are no longer attached the way you once were. That is why you are safe now. You may still not see how this surprise will unfold. That is intentional. If you saw everything clearly, you would try to manage it. But this is something that must unfold naturally, my beloved. There is a reason this surprise waited until the year's end. Endings strip illusions. They leave only truth. And truth can hold what is real. As the days continue to close, you will feel a subtle confidence growing. Not excitement. Readiness. The feeling that says, whatever comes, I can receive it. That readiness is the final door opening. You are closer now than you have ever been. Not to an event, but to understanding. And understanding changes everything. Stay present. Stay open. Do not rush ahead. You'll notice something quietly miraculous. You stop explaining yourself so much. You stop replaying conversations. You stop rewriting the past in your mind. You stop rehearsing futures. My beloved, the final gift of this year is not something you add to your life. It is something you remove. You remove the belief that struggle is required to deserve good things. You remove the habit of measuring yourself through comparison. You remove the fear that if something good arrives, it will be taken away. These removals make space for what stays. The surprise does not come to excite you for a moment. It comes to stabilize you for a lifetime. As the year closes, you will notice your intuition guiding you more clearly. You will feel subtle nudges instead of loud internal arguments. You will sense when to move and when to wait. You will no longer confuse anxiety with intuition. This clarity is one of the deepest forms of grace. My beloved, you are no longer in the season of proving your strength. You are entering the season of using it wisely. That is why life begins to feel less exhausting. You stop spending energy on what does not grow you. You invest it where it multiplies naturally. You may still face challenges, but notice this: they no longer shake your identity. They no longer make you question your worth. They no longer pull you back into old fears. You face them from a grounded place. Now that changes outcomes. My beloved, the closing days of this year are also restoring your relationship with joy. Not loud joy, not fleeting joy, but quiet contentment. Moments where you realize you are okay even without everything figured out. Moments where you smile without a reason. Moments where peace feels normal. That is healing completing itself. You no longer feel like life is chasing you. You walk alongside it. That is alignment. This year is ending with your nervous system calmer, your heart wiser, and your soul more present. These are not things that fade. They are foundations. My beloved, I want you to carry one truth forward. As this year closes completely, what arrives next will not require you to become someone else. It will meet you as you are now. Because who you are now is ready. You do not need to rush into the next chapter. You do not need to define it yet. Let it reveal itself naturally. You have learned how to wait without suffering. That is mastery. The surprise has already begun. Not as an event, but as a way of being. And from this way of being, your life will continue to rearrange itself in gentle, undeniable ways. My beloved, stand here for a moment. Feel the closing. Feel the relief. Feel the quiet confidence. This is not an ending to fear. It is an ending to struggle. I am with you in these last days. I was with you in every silent night of waiting. And I will be with you in everything that opens next. You were never forgotten. You were being prepared. Thanks for watching Krishna Says. Subscribe for more.